Guys, it's Josh and Dane from the Dane and Josh show. Dane, how you been, man?
Oh man, it's been a whirlwind here. I'm down here in Des Moines, Iowa. I brought my daughter down. We're doing a national tournament. She's been asked to guest play on, so I've been doing games for them, doing the coverage for them on their platform and mine. So it's been fun. We've had a
Man,
great time, and they're playing today later, so we're looking forward to that.
I'm glad you're here, man. You missed a few. I wish you were here all along, man. This week has been crazy. Coach Lonnie stopped by. She understands. She's like, I get it. It's about the kids from Florida State. Last night,
Yeah,
Travis from World's Strongest Man, dude. How in the
yeah,
world? Like, this dude's picking up 800-pound Volkswagens like it's nothing. It's crazy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You
I'm,
know what
I'm
I'm saying?
sad I missed that. I was going back to look at the episodes that I'd missed, and
Yeah, man.
they've been all great. And I can't wait to hear those guests as well.
Yeah. To this morning, we had a local because we always say no matter how blessed we become, we always want to know our friends, right? We
Yep,
had a local episode this morning, Rainey and Megan from local Blue Sox. We wanted to
yep,
showcase the
yep.
parent angle of softball and sports, if you will. Now we've made a new friend, Dane. I'm going to get into
Yeah,
this. I made a friend. I've been watching this coach for a long time, from his K-State days to what he's doing with the Hayden Academy. I made a new friend, Dane, this past month or two. We talk about those basketball minds, those geniuses, Coach
yeah,
K, Doc Rivers, and
yeah,
just geniuses on the court, right? Like I wish I could draw up plays like this and just think the way they do about basketball. As we talk about what to get into basketball, we found this Coach Marques Hayden. Again, I followed him from his K-State days back in the early 2000s to his career, his academy. He knows about us, what Sunrise is doing. Just so many things
yeah,
that this coach has done in really such a short time to just make his
yeah,
mark on the basketball community. So, Dane, it's an absolute honor to bring on this living player, legend, just all around great human and
yeah.
advice giver, Coach Marques Hayden. Coach, how you doing, Coach?
Oh man, I'm great. I'm great, guys. I tell you what, it's been a little rainy in Oklahoma,
Mm.
this July, but everybody's happy with the farmers.
Oh
Man,
yeah,
Coach, you're from our home. You're from our home, Coach. We're from Lawton, Oklahoma, in that area. So you're good people, man. so I'm glad to have you on. Dane and I have always wanted to track you down. I watched you play. We talked about this, you and I, off the air, when you play Heinrichs and Pauls and those guys. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm gonna get him on one day once the platform is right. So thank you for taking the time to make this happen.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Oh no, I appreciate you guys having me on. No, I remember Lawton when I was at Putnam City. We played against Lawton Ike, very very athletic teams back then.
Mhm. Yeah,
But that's when basketball was a little bit different.
Yeah, man.
yeah, a little bit more physical. Hey,
Back in the 80s and 90s, we could actually throw some elbows and be called, right, Dane? Is that correct?
there you go.
Well, so Coach, I'll tell you what, Dane and I have over the years, we've cultivated some episode questions that the audience,
Yeah,
and I know we've been blessed to have you listen to a few. So we're going to run some questions past you this episode, and we're glad that you may be joining us in the future. I'm grateful to have you. This one is about showcasing you. We want to get to know Coach Hayden and just the awesomeness about you. So I'm going to start these questions off. Typically, Dane goes first with
yeah.
question one. Dane, go ahead and hit him with that, man. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. On this one, Coach, I kind of want to go back even before you were your coaching days, and where all the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years started. At what age did you start your basketball journey as a young
Yeah.
man?
It was in the first grade, right after class. My mother picks me up and says, "Your father wants to know if you would like to play basketball, Marcus." And I mean, if I don't have to go home and do homework and clean up right away, I mean, yeah. So it was in the first grade, and then that's when I hooked up with Al Warrior with the Ponies on the east side of Oklahoma City. And that was the first time where it was an organization where my dad had coached me with about 20 other men that kind of set the platform for the rest of my
Mm.
life.
I love it.
That's
First grade, man. That's a long time, man. So you've had a few seasons under your belt, Coach.
Absolutely. And my father was my coach, my first coach. And it was so instrumental with my parents because I would go and travel and watch older teams play in that same organization when I didn't even have to play. So I think I was kind of already being trained and groomed to be a coach or to be a
Mhm.
just a fan of the game, right?
Yeah,
I love it,
yeah,
man. Well, Dana, think about this. So we played. It's funny, Coach. I'm 37. I played basketball my whole life, and basketball has always been that sport that, even though I love all sports, I've always been drawn to it. I love the
Yep.
5-on-5 aspect. I love the
Yep.
athleticism. I love the defensive mind. I love the cardio. Those are some of the reasons I love it. When you think about you back to first grade through now, between basketball, football, soccer, all these things, what was it that drew you specifically to basketball?
Yeah.
I think it was the surname and objectivity, and then it was really just it was more of a personal type of thing, and then it turned into a dominant type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're good at it. Like, you're really good at it. Did you play other sports too? I know I watched you, man. I followed your career, and you were a stud at K-State, still a stud. I wouldn't want to try to play you right now. I'm gonna say that right now.
Well,
But when you play basketball, did you play other sports too alongside of that, or?
well, I tried baseball, and the ball hit me in the mouth, and my mom looked at my dad and said, "Gary, I think he's finished." And so that was it with baseball. But I did football, but the basketball coach was like, he doesn't need to get hurt. So that was the issue. So I mean, just putting the ball in the hole and not getting all those pads. It's too hot out there, man. Give me some shorts and some Nikes.
I love it, man. So did you try this? Because I was about 12 when I realized I'm done with everything but basketball.
Mhm.
Did you give it the old college try, as they say, and keep playing, or at what point did you just transition to just basketball?
I think it was after the 8th grade year, and that's a great question, because we kind of all grow up in some of these smaller states with 4 sports, right?
Yeah.
Trying to do 100% with 25% of the time. But I think after 8th grade year is when my father, that's when my dad stopped coaching me. He said, "This is the furthest I could take you," and then I had to play for teams that had Nikes and airplane tickets.
Man, okay. I see you. Go ahead.
Now, when you started in those younger days, when you said you went through 1st through 8th grade, when you finally decided at 8th grade, hey, this is my thing. Now, whatever from those years, did your coaches move you all around the court? And if they did, to different positions, and if they did that kind of help you understand the game at a different level, even at that young age?
Well, that's another great question. Is David Hamilton, my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade year in middle school, David Hamilton taught me how to play man-to-man defense, and he didn't put me in the post at 6'2". I recently just reiterated to him, I thank God that he didn't put me in the post at that age, because I would have been even more situational in an opportunist society, right? Because basketball in Europe is all 5 positions. It's more of a utilities, where in America we kind of specialize.
Right.
Man, when I watched you, because I've watched you draw plays and I followed some of your clips online, your basketball mind is it's intense, man. Like, I mean it when I say this. Like, I'm good at some things. Like, I'm good at playing guitar, right? But you're good at basketball. Like, your presence, like the way you think, you live and breathe and die basketball. So was there an influence? I mean, as a player or as a coach, who was that mentor on you that made, if you could even say that one, that helped mold you into the basketball mind that you are today?
Well, I mean, I think he's right next to him. He's in Des Moines, Iowa, and his name is Charles Young.
Okay.
Yeah, Charles Young with the CY Select. When I first moved to Iowa, I had started coaching, and it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world to play college basketball overseas, and I couldn't even draw up a play. It was very embarrassing, and I wanted to be Nolan Richardson so bad. I would hoot and holler, and Charles would say, "Hey, buddy, you're Phil Jackson. You're not Nolan Richardson." And I said, "Charles, what are you talking about?" And so I stopped coaching and coercing, and I started having conversations without an index finger.
I remember we said this, Dane. Coach and I talked about this off the air. And Coach, one thing I love about you, Dane and I go back about this time and time again. You said, and this is kind of a little bit off the air, it doesn't always matter about wins and losses. You're celebrating these kids just progressing. And your style of, as you are as a coach, we look at that even at softball. Sometimes the scoreboard may not have a win, but that kid took 20 shots. I love your, like you said, the Phil Jackson mindset. You're about development, and that's key in this league, man. Like, developing these players and confidence. They may not go to the NBA, they may be, but you're making them have the time of their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's just the wins and losses. I kind of got immune and numb to it, just on the deficiencies that we have to handle. For instance, a 6'2", 12-year-old, he's got to be able to get a defensive rebound, reverse pivot, and bring the ball up the court if we're going to have the Big 12 20 years from now.
Yeah. That's so true, man.
Yeah.
And we were talking Dane off the air a little bit, I'm telling you, I have 6 pages of notes for Coach Marques, and it's like, wow, just plays and the way you think about the game. And Coach, we always say the sport, we thought softball, but basketball's in good hands. People like yourself
definitely.
that know it's about more than just wins and losses, and teaching these people, these young men, to be, athletes and gentlemen and all that. It's so cool to see that you expand beyond that. So I kind of, Dane and I, we transition into this next one, Coach. We think about the next 12 months with the academy, obviously, all you've learned from playing at K-State, and just the influences around you. Are you looking at tournaments with the academy? Are we looking at what's the next 12 months for your program looking like?
That's another good question, because I've been back. I'm going into a transition mode right now where we're learning more and more. Every 6 weeks, I call my parents up and I apologize to them because I've changed as a coach. You know what I mean? And I was like, but so the tournament. So right now, I'm kind of in between the separation of church and state, with competing versus training versus overall curriculum. And sometimes in the midst of war in a tournament, there's so many things, additives that are out of our control. Versus, is it more important to win games, go through tournaments and compete, or is it more important to be at their high school games, talking with their high school coaches, going over more curriculum and taking personal notes, and getting 2 or 3 hours with them per week, besides going to a tournament to wear a uniform?
Yeah, Dane. Dane, you talk about that too, Dane. We just talked about this, Coach. Dane, you said this too: school versus athletics. At this age, your coach, you're saying it. What's more important? I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's a hot point, man. Dane, what do you say about that?
Yeah, and like they say with a lot of sports, the curriculum and how you do in school is paramount. But a springboard to get you there is the sport that you play. So give that 100% and make that help you into that next level of life, because like all the athletes and coaches we've had on our program have said, I can only play these sports for so long. My body's only going to hold out for so long, but my mind's going to stay around for as long as I'm alive. So you have to use one to springboard you to greatness on the other. So,
man,
and I'm glad you brought that up, because the intuitive side of the young adolescent, before their cognitive skills are really get to going, it's very important that I try to figure out what they don't know or what they think they comprehend. And then they also teach us at the same time too.
Yeah, definitely.
Coach, you said that, Coach, and go ahead, Dan, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like that. I was trying to write down as you said it, coaching without an index finger. Is that how you said it, Coach? That's a great point to make.
Well, because I think if you articulate, what happens is the elder statesmen, those alpha males, are the ones that do the reprimanding. I'm kind of there as a colleague.
Man, go ahead, Dave.
And like I say, and to that, that's kind of a mindset with going from a coach to a teacher. A coach at a certain level, when you're like you said, like an adolescent, even. When you're doing that, you're coaching them and telling them you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. Then whenever you sit down with them later in life, you can say, this is why you have to do it that way. Now you can see why I wanted you to do it. You go from the physical teaching to the mindset. And that's what gets a lot of these athletes, we're finding out, to that next level, because so many programs, whether it be softball, basketball, soccer, they have designated departments within their organization to deal with the mental side of the game. So it's great to hear that you're doing that, and you put it so
well, because there's so many times where after a game, you kind of tear up a little bit, because you got great players like Zach Young who have been put down, who have been inexperienced, and sometimes inexperience looks like it's not talent, but when you see him get a rebound, dribble the ball up the court, that took 6 or 7 weeks, but it's going to last him 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Coach, you're saying something, and I'm right. I'm another page of notes already, another page. And you're talking about this thing, Coach, where it's like you're talking about love for the players. And that's one thing that picked up first thing about you. And I watched you play, man. I'm telling you, I grew up in Kansas after moving from Oklahoma. I watched you play many games in the Big 12. Your love for your players and your kids, that's what draws people to you. You genuinely love players. And I think there's no question why you're so successful with the program to be able to not point the finger. I'm never going to forget that. Like what you said, as far as not pointing the index finger, you want to be able to teach them. I guarantee if you say, hey, I want you to run this play, I know coach is going to be able to run that play yourself. You're one of those rare coaches that can do it and teach it. And I commend you for that, man.
Well, and I think one of the more confusing times is when you have some players and parents that are participating fully, et cetera, and you kind of have to ask them to leave, and they may want to do something else. It's just because the expectation level is at an all-time high. And everybody has expectations for themselves too. You know, it's the parents have it for me. You know, the parents in my organization, I love those people. Those people hold me accountable. And those people are honest with me, and they allow me to be myself also.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Dane, you and I have talked about this too. And Coach, maybe before we go into rapid, you can expand on this. I know right now the average age, when we talk to these college athletes and NFL athletes and NBA and all that, the average age when they started really getting scouted is about 12 to 14. 12 to 14 years old, man. Like you're talking about these kids don't even know what they want to buy for lunch, and they're getting scouted. Take you back for a second when you were playing at K-State. I mean, just for a second, because the parallel. What age did they start scouting you, man? I mean, was it that young for you too when you started getting scouted for college?
Well, I guess hashtag Greg Swain. He reminded me of this, but he said, "Hey, do you remember when you were in the 8th grade when so and so from the University of Oklahoma offered you a scholarship?" Oh, I said, "Oh man, I forgot about that." Yeah, and so I got some players in my organization where they're 10 times better than I was, but I got to be honest with you, I'm trying to send these guys to professionals at 16 17 18. You know, no offense against college or anything like that, but I'm kind of getting them ready for war right now.
Man, so I think that's about the average age of what I'm hearing is Dana, and you said this too. Our kids right now, we deal with in college softball and all that, Coach. We deal with something that's 14U, 12U. It seems to be that high school age is when it turns into like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to go ahead and set
fork in the road.
Fork in the road, man. Well, Coach, I'm going to take a minute. We got.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Well,
man.
Actually, and another thing I wanted to sanction was the 12 to 14 years, that age right there, with the parental advisory that is so important, with not reprimanding after a lost tournament and things of that sort, and allowing the kids to talk about if they want to talk about after the tournament in the game. And my thing with the parents is we can't necessarily say base how much money I had to spend on the success of your kid versus the development, right?
Man,
definitely.
Coach, I'm telling you, Dane, these things Coach, I probably spent 3 hours talking to you off the air because I really want to pick your brain. And that's something Dane and I are passionate about. We do a lot of fundraisers for the kids because one thing we don't want to see, and I believe that everybody should have a chance to play. I don't care what your economic status is. I want you to have a chance to play. And the way you kind of said it, I appreciate you saying it more eloquently, is, man, sometimes it's just too darn expensive to play in college, man, these days. And you got to scholarships, or it is expensive, and kind of helping maybe bring some awareness to, hey,
and honestly, that's what's kind of dampering up some of the things that we have to deal with. But with being a small business, but keeping the integrity of the product is very important. Not everybody's going to make it, but if I can help induce and create another future college coach, which is more important, right? Or a doctor, or whatever we're supposed to say.
I love that. That's spot on, man. So there's a segment, Coach. Now you're going to laugh about this. We've had fun all along. I'm having a good time. This is the only part I don't give you any prep for. I mean, you talking off the air, we've been prepping. I know a couple things about you. I know you're a big wrestling fan. I know you got your own show. You're a very entertaining person. I like listening to you. But maybe in all of your episodes you've done, you may not have had questions like this. Okay, these are some rapid fire. I'm bet excited on this. Yeah, Dane. So I sent you my picks, Dane. Are you ready on these? Because I'm ready to go. Yeah. Okay, so Coach, we're going to give you some scenarios that our fans, we love them to death. They give us questions. They're PG, but they're weird. They scour the internet. They bring us cool, random, like what would you do scenarios, and you got to run it. Okay. So first one. So Marv Albert, legendary game caller. We love Marv Albert. You know, speaks for himself. We're at the All-Star game, 2024 All-Star game. You're there. You're honored for what you're doing. Hey, on the spot in the middle of the court, they stop it halftime. You and Marv Albert have to play a game of either A, poker or spades on live TV, and the winner takes $1 million. What game are you going against for Marv Albert?
Oh, I'm going with spades. I'm not playing Marv Albert at poker.
Let's go, Dane. 1 for 1. Dan, what you got, Dane?
I missed that one. I got poker. It's the end. A lot of it's the end thing now sometimes. So okay, I was trying to ride that.
I'm 1 for 1. Oh, good. I like it. So again, alternate universe, these things, anything's possible, right? So next question. So in my opinion, this is my personal opinion. I don't want anybody to disagree with me. I think the 2 greatest players of all time for me is Jordan and Magic. I love them. They're just my 2 favorite. I've watched I've watched millions of games on them, I feel like. So Jordan and Magic, right? These are the 2 people. All of a sudden, you're brought back, All-Star game's over, you're coming home, and Jordan and Magic show up at your Hayden University camp. You get a chance to put one of them in the game to play with your 4, like starting 4 you add. Are you taking Jordan or Magic to start with your starting 5? Just a pickup game?
Oh, I have to. Well, basketball is going back to Magic Johnson now.
Okay. Woo! I knew it. I knew he was going to say that, Dane. I'm 2 for 2. Dane, what'd you have, man? So.
I had Jordan, man. I'm 0 for 2. I'm missing this one.
So next one, we're going to switch topics. Okay. So we're staying on the basketball world, but we're switching to something. So transition, y'all, all of a sudden you guys are all in Venice Beach. All right. So it's Draymond Green. We've got Kevin Durant, and then we've got John Stockton. This is a volleyball team against you, and it's you, and you've got LeBron, and you either get to pick Shaq or Mutombo. So Shaq or Mutombo to play in a 3-on-3 volleyball tournament. Are you choosing Shaq or Mutombo in a volleyball tournament?
Oh, you got to choose Mutombo. I think
oh man!
To the element.
Oh man, I missed that one. Dan, do you have that one?
Shaq.
Oh yeah. You got to choose Mutombo. He's got length. He's got length.
Okay.
That guy.
I didn't have that one, man. Okay, you got me on that one. So, staying in the basketball world, all right. So we're coming back. So you get back to Oklahoma. You got back from all your festivities and all that, and just a celebrity appearance. So at your court, shows up at your actual camp, Hayden's camp. 2 guys show up, and they want to challenge you to a free throw contest. So the 2 guys that show up is Bird and Curry. They want to challenge you. You got to pick one. Who are you going to do a free throw contest against? Bird or Curry?
Oh, I would have to do it against Bird. Yeah, I mean Bird, he would totally disintegrate me and let me know about it quietly.
I love it. So 4 for 4. Dane, what are you doing? I'm 4 for 4. Dane, how are you, man?
I'm 2 for 4 here now.
Man.
So don't rub it in. Don't rub it in yet. You know.
So again, last question, because I'm a big fan of basketball lore and mythology and basketball stories, right? So there's a lot of talk about, and we could go different venues. I know the Bulls of the 90s, great. The 2 seem to be storied franchises throughout history. You've got Lakers and Celtics, just the storied rivalries, right, from day one back in the 60s, right? So you get a chance to do a All-Star game 2025. You've been doing your thing. You're, loving it. Everybody loves you. You get a chance to be a guest coach for Lakers or Celtics. Which team are you guest coaching for? You.
Oh, I would love to coach for the Lakers because that's the joy side of it. But the business side of how in basketball, I'm more of a Celtic as far as my action.
Okay, so Celtics. Dang it. So yeah. I was 4 for 5, Dane. I had 4 for 5. Did you get that one, Dane?
I had the other last one. I was 3 for 5. So
I got you. So send me lunch, Dane.
Right behind him, Danny. Right behind him.
Hey! I made a comeback. I made a comeback at the end, but
that's good.
Fell short.
Man, I really did. I'm surprised about the Mutombo one though, man. Because I'm telling you, I had Shaq. Because Shaq, I ain't playing thumb war, paper rock scissors. Nothing against Shaq. He's a bad dude. So
yeah, but we have to. If basketball, any sport is physics.
Yeah,
and Mutombo is a pogo stick.
That's true.
Shaq had the ability to be able to move perpendicular and then rise to the occasion.
That's true. That's true. So Dane, I'm telling you, I have to stop myself because I could just write down pages of notes. So Dane, I'm going to send that last segment back to you, Dane, for you.
On this segment, Coach, we call this our open mic. we open the floor up to our guests to kind of tell, even though we've found out a lot more about you during our episode, is we ask them to, kind of give us maybe a nugget, kind of a philosophy or a mantra they've carried through the years of their chosen sport and also with coaching. Is there something that maybe one or two things that you kind of carried with you through your basketball career into coaching, and some of those things, another one that maybe you give some of those youngsters coming up trying to reach the level you're at?
It's good.
I think probably with old A.D. my high school coach. Well, a lot of people don't realize I really didn't look at myself as Marques Hayden because I was always worried about the next war. But A.D. Birchie, I ate lunch with him every day. And he said, Hayden, no matter what you do, everything is big time. But one thing A.D. Birchie always said, the harder you work, the more difficult it is to surrender. And AD was kind of a Chuck Daly type of guy where he allowed us to make it our idea. He allowed us to be ourselves with the confinement. And so that's the one thing is when it picks up and it gets a little intense, I think the serotonin is just about to hit the limb.
Man. So I think there's a line of what you're saying where it's like when the going gets tough, like it's almost like some people, they lock into when it's rough, when things are tough. That's when you lock in. I've watched that about you and some of the things the way you played. When it's tough, that's when it becomes fun. It's not even fun if it's easy. When it becomes hard, maybe you can expand on that. That's when it becomes fun. Would you agree, Coach? When it's hard?
Absolutely. And I'm very careful to say you have to do it. Back in my day, historically, I think these kids are better athletes. I think their intuitive reptilian lobe of their brains are a lot better and more efficient. I think one thing we're having to coach more and more of don't be afraid to fly when you have wings. But that's nothing wrong with that because as a previous society, we put certain things in place so our kids wouldn't have to struggle as hard.
Right.
Oh man, Dan, we've talked about that a few times. We're glad that my daughter, I'm kind of being personal for a second. My daughter said she has no idea what it's like to, maybe not have certain things, she name brand clothes or whatnot. And I think Coach, you spoke about that. It's nice that these athletes these days, they have, player coaches. They have, in our world of softball, they've got hitting coaches and pitching coaches. For you guys, they've got strength and conditioning coaches. It's good that they actually have that to draw from the start. They're better athletes. They're trained better. Nutritionist. I mean, I didn't know what a nutritionist was till I hit high school. I don't know about you, Dane, but I know what that was, So
that was even before my time in high school.
Man, Coach, I think you're spot on, man. Just the way your philosophy about just giving them a chance to fly and grow and let them soar. No wonder people flock to you. Again, I was like, man, when I got a chance to talk to you the first time, I was like, let me take all day. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, it's just my high school career was a bit different. With Gary Vick with Athletes First. So my sophomore year, I was already at Nike All-American camp and NBA camp in Washington, D.C. in Indiana with Kalina Azubuike and Sheldon Williams and Bookout. And then we were also played with John Pierre, which is the one that developed Victor. I was overseas with Lindsey Davis with the Junior Olympic at 17 years old in France. So I was able to see different players worldwide and also nationally without the internet. And the guy that was in charge of our shoes at Nike All-American camp is the president of the EYBL.
Man. So you've seen it all, man. And so I think that's, I think I circle back and kind of maybe to close this first episode. And we're so grateful we get to have you, Coach, a part of this episode. And we hope, as I told you before, love to have you back for future basketball episodes. And your mind is just so impressive the way you look at basketball. Like I said, the way I look at maybe guitar, Dane kind of looks at me like, oh, how do you do that? The way you look at plays and just players and the sport, it's next level. And I'm glad to have you on this episode. Our goal, Coach, for this first one really was to showcase you, to say thank you, to bring you into this dynamic and say, hey, there's coaches like this out there just really trying to make a difference on and off the field, the court. And that's what we're all about, Coach. I'm grateful.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you guys for having me. I think it's just everybody's obligation to keep everything at its purest form.
Man, Well, Coach, like I told Dan and I mean, you and I talked, we got a segment for you. So I've got several episodes. I would like to have you return.
Yeah.
I just wanted to break the ice and showcase you in a different way. We know from you for playing side, and it's one thing to watch an athlete play. It's another thing to listen to him talk for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, showcase you as a, personality. So Coach, it's a privilege. I'm telling you, I'm
a pretty boring guy. I mean, it takes 30 minutes.
Anything but.
No.
Well, no, I think somebody says, the great my financial advisor, Paul Wilkins, says, Hayden, it takes 30 minutes to eat a cup of Cheerios. That's one Cheerio every 3 seconds.
Oh man, I never heard that one, Dan. Have you? That's almost a dad joke. Well, Coach, I'll tell you this, first of many, I mean, when I say that, I enjoy getting to break down. I think what you do, when I saw you, like I said, I was drawn to you from your days of watching you play, and I watched what you do with the academy. I love what you're doing with these kids and raising them into young adults on and off the court. Dane and I can't say enough about it's important to not just focus on the court. It's off the court as well. We say off the field, whether it's football, softball, basketball, it's about real life. And I think that you're doing that, teaching them it's okay to fail, if you even say that, but is it really a failure? Like you said, if you shot 7 shots, is it really a failure because you didn't win the game? No, you're winning something every day, right? So I love your philosophy on coaching, Coach, and I'm just glad to have you a part of it.
Well, my boys and girls, in actuality, they kind of keep me afloat, as far as holding me accountable more than anything else, because all of those boys are straight A students. One of them is in the band. He plays the trumpet. We got other ones in other clubs and things of that sort. Because I mean, we can only play with the PSI for so long, and then we have to evolve into something else. And I just don't want them to find their success, just through a sport or anything like that. But just make sure we have a purpose,
Which that's what I keep going back to is, even though you're successful and I watch you and you have great talent, people flock to you. It's so crazy to know that someone as elite as you are, when it's all said and done, you're not really worried about the game. You're worried about them as people. And that it just makes my day, man. So thank you, Coach. We'll have some segments. I'll tell you, I meant what I said. We'll talk off the air a little bit, but I'll bring you back. We've got several basketball players coming up. We've got Coach BC stopping by, Coach Derek. We got a lot of basketball minds coming up. Coach Alyssa, I want you a part of that. So we will definitely make sure we're staying in touch. This first one was just about showcasing you as a great human and as a great athlete.
Would it be all right if I have one more?
Sure.
Coach Jonathan Blewett just took the new job at Western Heights about 2 weeks ago. Ex-ORU player, ex-ORU coach. And I think he played at ORU and took him to the tournament as a player, and also coached there and went to the tournament twice.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. And that's think about the circle. That's your circle. And then, again, people like that, man, we've had people that we know that go to, pro level and all that. And it's cool to be a part of that story. So Coach, it's no wonder that people around you that I can't say enough. Like, Dane, help me out here. I'm just kind of gushing,
like I say, you surround yourself with great people, or you do great things. And that's always tell my daughter, you do great things, you do it the right way. People have a way of gravitating towards you. And it sounds like that's what a lot of the people you have around you have done. I mean, you guys are doing great things, which, let's face it, anybody that takes their time to help the young generation along to make whatever they're teaching them better is always a great thing. You're always going to get surrounded by great people.
And it's the confidence thing that we can't fabricate. It's one of those things where the parents have allowed me to do my job, and we're able to simulate climatical instances, and they're able to observe and see how their younger ones are going to get through it.
Man. Yeah. Well, Coach,
and that discipline that you guys are teaching them, like you say, like we said earlier, a springboard to the next level in life, that discipline to, in the short term with sports, it shows them, hey, you got to do X, Y, and Z in order to get the result. Well, that's how you have to do it in life as well. So, it's kind of a microcosm of what they do. Like you say, even with the other sports they may play or the instruments. Okay. You can't just come out on a trumpet and start playing the greatest piece of music out there. You have to start at square one. You have to start without a doubt. and you have to start at square one, and you have to practice, and this is your discipline, and it'll get to that next level.
So Coach, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
It makes me think of something, Coach, with you, elite player. So for a second, as I try to close this, because I could talk for years, you as a player, take me back for a second. Your regimen. Our kids always say that practice is unimportant, but please help me prove my kids wrong. When you became a player, when you're going into 8th grade, 9th grade, how many hours a day did you practice? I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, and sometimes I kind of forget about that part. But when I asked my mother, I said, "Mom, what type of player was I?" She said, "Son, you're very unusual." And because after I would win a championship, I would keep the ring for 2 weeks, and then I would give it to her, and then I would get back to war. But those were some of those type of years right there. So I mean, I wanted to win, but it was more man versus man versus nature, man versus conflict in those adolescent years.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why I went to K-State. So I was supposed to go to University of Connecticut. And Birchie, I was in the coach's office, and I said, "I want to go to K-State, Birchie." And then Jim Calhoun kept calling and said, "Hayden, they want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Coach, I don't want to talk." And then my mom, kind of tears up when I said, "I don't want to go to OU." And so, the K-State thing, coming in and starting as a freshman right away and being able to play in the Big 12, but only being 4 hours away from home, where my parents could come and see me compete. And then K-State, just that small community in the Little Apple in Kansas, it's nothing like it. I see that they're revitalizing a lot of different things, but I think now it's a little different. Now we got to start taking care of our conferences. I think that, we'll get into that in the future and things of that sort, but the way this sport and sports are going, it's evolving. It's not disappearing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is you see all these teams that are moving from conference to conference. It is, something that we've seen, a couple of the Big 12s are leaving. So, maybe they feel that their style that they play constitutes them playing another conference.
Well, your kids are going to be in college playing sports pretty soon. And it's kind of hard to go to Utah in Florida when I have a biology test that same week.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
I told you, Dane, what I say about him. We could go on for days, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. One thing that somebody says springboards you to another thought, and it's like, man, Coach, we could just keep unraveling the ball of yarn there. And I've enjoyed it.
Coach, I wish I had like a week to just sit down and say, "Hey, let me run the scenario by you." This one, man. It's just no wonder people just flock to you. Again, the first time you called me, I was like, "Hey." I just left feeling overjoyed, and I felt energized, and I felt inspired. Now that's what a coach is supposed to do, is inspire people. So, Coach,
well, the one coach that really did that was when I met Tex Winter at K-State. I'm like, this guy invented the offense for Jordan, and he's wearing
the
Keds.
Triangle. The triangle. Yeah, the triangle offense. That's right,
man. Well, Coach, let me say this to you. I'm gonna bring the plane down on this one. We're gonna land it. First of many. What the first episode, as I said from the start, was getting to know you and showcase the great person that you are, just your basketball mind. So I'm one of a million, I feel like, in the book. So thank you for letting us break down Coach Hayden and what you do as a player. Oh gosh, it's a bucket list, man. So thank you for that. We'll be in touch very soon. Man, we'll be in touch very soon. We're going to end this one. But like I said, first of many, don't hesitate. Like I said, I know we've had a dialogue, you, me, and Dane. I'll get a little thread going with you, me, and Dane. We'll keep in touch, and we'll have you on very soon. We're going to keep this thing going. And thank you for your time and your mindset. Okay. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
You're welcome, Coach. You're welcome to drop off, Coach. I appreciate you, man. So, Dane, I'm telling you, man, I got a chance. I got the privilege of interacting with them. Most of these legends like that, their time is precious. Like, he's got a lot going on, and he called me for an hour. The first time I said, "Hey, would you like to come on the show?" We talked for an hour, and I love all the guests we've had. And they're like, "Hey, I got 6 minutes." They kind of block me, which I get it. I get that part of it. Coach is like, "No, I got all night." And he just, it's that old school relationship building is what I see with him, definitely. Just break it down. What'd you think of it, man? It was awesome.
I love it. I mean, I love those kind of individuals that are they're not reluctant to share what they've what they've learned, because they want everybody to see it, because they know the things that they do aren't just in a sport or in an activity. The lessons they have expand beyond that. They're making greater people, and that's what I love about the people that we have on that give us those kind of things, like he was saying. It's just neat to hear, and you pass it on to, just you and I. We can pass it on to the girls that we are teaching softball to immediately, and then it goes on to the next level. So like you say, not only is X, Y, or Z sport in good hands, this next generation with individuals like Coach is in great hands. So it's great to pass those lessons along.
Wow, man, that was phenomenal. Top deck. So like I said, he wants to come back and help us with basketball.
Yeah.
I said, hey, Coach, we'd love to have your mind on anything if we can learn from you. So this won't be the last time we see him. He's not able to dedicate time like Caitlin or Kaylee with being a part of the staff, but he's like, I'd love to help pick the brain and all that. So absolutely. So Coach, thank you for your time. Great player, great athlete, just top deck, man. That was one for the books, man. So Dane, we'll rack that one. I hope you get some rest between games. When's your next game tonight? 5, you said?
5:00
okay,
Central Time. I'll be on. I do on a couple of
air.
Facebook and Game Changer feeds, so I'll be calling at minimum 2 more games tonight, possibly 3.
Man,
so I gotta rest up the voice and get some lemon juice or something to keep it going.
Well, get your voice ready, man, because next week's a busy week. We got Jared stopping by. He's a linebacker from Northwestern State. Dane, we've only got about 25 episodes next week, so nothing crazy. So nothing too much,
Yeah, a light week.
Yeah, just a light week. We'll handle that with our staff. So, you guys, that was a great one. I'm excited to get this out. And Coach Hayden, thank you again. His program that he's working with, just that's what we want to see, people that are helping kids. So I can't say enough. I'll end it before I just keep going on and on. So Coach, I appreciate your time. That was one for the ages. So on behalf of Dane and Josh, I'll never forget that we love you. And as always, Dane,
thank you for listening.